Hey everybody, welcome back to the Unreal Engine Weekly Twitch livestream. I'm Chance Ivey, your community manager, and I'm here with Nick Donaldson, senior designer. We've got Nick Whiting out in Seattle, lead programmer, and somebody else.
It's
Ray.
me.
Yeah, it's Ray
It's me.
Davis. Yeah, that guy that we've all grown to love at some point or another.
Love to hate. It's all good.
Anyway, if you've missed the information this week, I'm sorry, but Showdown came out yesterday for everyone to download, pick apart, and kind of see how it was put together. And yeah, Nick and Nick worked quite a bit on it. They
Yeah.
debuted it at Oculus Connect last year, I
Last
guess.
year, about a year
And
ago.
so we're gonna kind of dive into the parts of the creation of it and what led up to release, and then kind of what's next. So before that, let's hop over to the news, Shelly. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, great. So it's a little later in the week now, but I wanted to call out the marketplace flash sale. There's 2 more packs left this week. Yesterday was audio, but we have animation and characters today, and then tomorrow it will be on environment. So there's 3 different packs that are on sale, both today and tomorrow. So if you've been waiting on anything in these packs, now would be your time to go ahead and pick them up. And yeah, check that out. And also on that note with Marketplace, we used to do a weekly blog that kind of showed everything that's coming out. I think that that's going to happen either on Friday or early next week. So you're going to get a really nice digest of everything that's happened over the last month for Marketplace. There's been a ton of great new content coming on there. So keep submitting awesome packs. We'd love to see what you guys are putting together. All right, and another news, tiny little blip. Unreal Engine 4.9 is released. This happened, on Monday, right before we kicked out Showdown. So if you haven't downloaded it, you're still working on a preview, stop that. Download it. It is great. It's awesome. There's just all kinds of great things in it. If you look at this is all of our release notes. It's 70 pages and a little bit more than that of great new additions and fixes and improvements, as well as 129 contributions from you guys. So this is really great. There's a lot of repeat offenders on here, like Yakuro Aller's in here, Jared Thuralt, John Alcatraz is in here. So a lot of familiar names in here. You guys will all be getting your forum badges soon. We're just, really, really thankful for all your contributions and everything you do to help Engine be the best that it can be. So thanks a lot. Download 4.9 today. And in international news, events. Everyone's favorite Hortenses, Short, is going to be visiting both Helsinki and Hamburg over the next week or so. 7th and 8th, he'll be at the Pocket Gamer Connects Helsinki in Finland, doing some demonstrations there, and then immediately after that, going down to Hamburg for a couple days, doing more demonstrations in Hamburg. So if you're in either of those areas, I would definitely try to make it out to one of these things. If you don't know who Hortenses is, he's been around for...
Then you're doing it wrong.
What?
Then you're doing it
Yeah,
wrong.
exactly. Yeah, I learned from Hortenses like 8-9 years ago or something like that, and he's been one of the longest running Unreal Engine, I guess, developers and just trainers and everything.
I was
Guy does-
following some of his tutorials when I was 13.
Yeah. Wow, it's crazy. So anyway, if you can, if you have the means, you can make it out to it. Please do. It's definitely not one to miss. And then also in Brazil, we've got a Brazil Gets Unreal South tour that's going in September and early October. And these 3 cities, it's Porto Alegre, Curitiba, and Florianopolis. So I hope I pronounced those right. Ray's probably going to make fun of me after the fact because that's just what he does. Anyway, all the Eventbrite links are right now on the forums. If you head over to the event section of the forums, you can RSVP and let us know you're coming. It's going to cover a wide variety of topics. So there's some, twin stick shooter for mobile deployment. So it's like you learn how to put together things in blueprints and then actually push it out to mobile. So ought to be a lot of fun. Wish I could make it down to that one. And next up, no idea what this image is like as small as it is, but I have to check what's happening with eBulletin. It works fine on my machine, but the September Game Jam kicks off next week, I believe. Yeah, next week we're kicking off our monthly jam. It'll go over the weekend where we're inviting everybody out to compete for, epic swag bags and customized T-shirts. So. There you go. Yeah. Thanks, Shelly. Man, that is crazy. Yeah, I'll have to sort that out. Alexander and I'll have to chat and see what's going on.
Is
But
this like teasing the theme of the jam?
no, it's not. Yeah, wait, actually, it
Tiny
could be.
game
Yeah,
jam.
like
Yeah, it's like it's a micro game jam,
yeah,
guys.
micro images. Well, actually, we just give you one day. to
One.
yeah, from when the stream is over, from the stream starts to stream ends, to make something rad.
You
No,
have to make a game that runs in 320 by 200.
yeah, exactly. Well, that's
that.
great, Nick. I love that. Um, anyway, so yeah, take a look out for that. All of the swag should be mostly caught up now. I think we're still missing 1 month. So a couple people pinged me after the last stream, and for I think June and July and maybe May, those have all shipped as far as I know. So if you haven't got your stuff yet, feel free to reach out to me again, and I'll chase it down for you. So. On that note too, before we move on to the next, I still want to remind, just kind of tease that, keep an eye out for October's Jam. It's going to be a little bit more intense. So we've got some things planned, things that we're going to ready to roll out over the next couple weeks.
Vague booking.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'm not on Facebook. Fake twitching, something like that. Anyway, so we just got some secrets coming out for that jam, and I'm really excited about them. All right, next thing we got. And the Unreal Engine Answer Hub Top Karma Earners of the Week. I refresh the page right before we go on the live stream every week, so I just wanted to call these guys out. We got Shadow River, Devereaux, JT Smith, Jackie, Aaron, ACEA, don't I say that? M House, I know that guy. 1247, Omnicipher, Ian Labrie. Oh, that's really tough to say. And then Jan Sorted. So the top 3 will be getting Answer Hub badges on the forums as well. So we're actually still in the design phase of that. Alexander reached out this last week to kind of gauge interest in what we think they should be named, and we think we've got a couple of really great candidates. So we'll be making the art assets for those, kicking them over the servers hopefully in the next couple weeks, and we'll retroactively award out ones for the last few weeks we've been doing this. So congratulations to everybody. Thank you for all your support on the community side here, just helping each other out. It's funny because Shadow River's on here. I remember like years ago, like right at launch, Shadow River was just like everywhere on here. So I'm glad to see him in this list. All right. So then let's see what we have next for Community Spotlight. Oh yeah. So the first one we have up here is Albino Lullaby by Ape Law, and we've got a video for that. This is kind of like a psychological horror game, but it's got like a really neat art style. Like it's like
What the heck is that? That's awesome.
yeah, it's really crazy. Like it's almost like a comical style, like lighthearted horror art. That's the way I look at it. It's
A little grindhousey.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
I don't know what your definition of lighthearted is, Chance, but I think it's very different.
What's that?
I don't know what your definition of lighthearted is, but it's very different than mine.
No, I mean, yeah. Well, I mean,
Awesome. First person VR horror.
yep. Yeah, it's
That's what the world needs.
Come out with PTSD.
yeah, and there's like these weird like thumb-looking creatures that like just watching this video makes me feel a little bit, less
Be this
awesome.
generation's evil clown.
When I was talking lighthearted, I was talking about more like the art style itself, not necessarily the theme of the game. Anyway, they've got a Kickstarter out. You should definitely go check it out. And I think I've got
That's awesome. Yeah.
Where's
cool.
my mouse? I've lost it. There we go. Come back. Yeah, so it's a Lee Berger on the forums has actually dropped some more information on here with screens you
Cool.
can check out and give feedback, chat about it, go back to the project. Looks really cool. We are clearly interested in VR around here, so these kind of things definitely stick around for us. So excited about that one. All right, next up we have this is Jeff Lamarche's. Before we kick into the video, Jeff, you've probably seen him before. We've had him on the stream with us before. He's working on Republic Sniper, multi-engine contributor as well. But he was doing this really cool tutorial showing how to put 3D models in a HUD, so you can actually take things and then capture the image and have it update in real time on the HUD. So Shelly, if you can go ahead and hop over that video. So you can see, look, the character down there at the bottom. It's basically taking a look at him. Kind of reminds me of like in League of Legends or other MOBAs like that, where you see your little character down there doing something like really crazy. When you do something cool. I can see this being really, really nice for character customization or just anything you want to bring up in 3D for the HUD. So, but he's got like a tutorial about it that he's working on right now. This is just kind of a preview, and he's going to be updating it and kind of showing his approach to how he put it together. I think it's pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah, and then back on the thread, yeah, same thing. You can hop in. We'll be posting the thread after the fact, but you can come in here and chat with Jeff. He's super active on the forums. And if you got questions about it, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to answer them for you. And the next one we have up here, I don't have a video for, but I do, but it's like 6.5 minutes long. So we're gonna probably just kind of skim over some things. But this is Valhalla Hills. It's just recently released on early access. You can check it out on Steam, but it touts itself as some sort of like a Catan style strategy game, and it's just got really great looking art. Let's see if I can hop through here. I know this is a little different, Shelly. I don't know that we could have pulled this one, but. Dun, dun, dun. Yay! Look at those little guys go. And it's funny because their first intro video is like a 6.5 minute video. It's like interviewing actual Vikings, like people dressed up like Vikings and talking about all these things. So, that's fun. Yeah, big fan of that. I'm gonna hop out of that real quick.
Was it the old game Settlers, right?
Yeah, it's like Settlers is actually listed in here. But yeah, here's the Viking Diary. That's the 6.5 minute English version. So really cool. It's Windows, PC, Mac, and Linux shall follow. So you can get it in early access now. Really check it out. We've seen some of these videos come across Twitter in different places, and the game just looks beautiful. It looks like a lot of fun. So I am excited. All right. So thanks for everybody for kicking information over to us for the community spotlight. Actually, one of those was one that followed up after the last Twitch and was like, "Hey, here's my cool project." I was like, "That is awesome! I will show it." So if you want to get our attention, feel free to reach out to us in the forums, in the Twitch chat, drop things. We always go back and take a look at them there. Find us on Twitter, find us on Instagram. Dana's on there just reposting things all the time that you guys are working on. It's super, super impressive. So show us what you're working on. We'd love to show you off. And with that, we will hop over to Showdown. Hooray!
Yay.
So
it's out.
Yeah, it's out. If you missed it, like I said earlier, we released Showdown yesterday on the through the Epic Games launcher. You can head over to the Learn tab and download the entire project, all of its assets right now. It's kind of our flagship VR demo. We showed it off at Oculus Connect last year, but it's been at pretty much every big event we've had that had some demo space. Right? It was at GDC, ECGC. We had it at SIGGRAPH. It was also at VR LA. I've got a list over here of different places we've had it, and then we've done multiple demos other places. And it's interesting. We talk a lot about VR and how you have to really experience it to understand what it's like. And so for the longest time, it's been very narrowly shown. So people had to go to these events where there's long lines, and like at SIGGRAPH, it was like you had to reserve a slot, and it was sold out a lot of the time. So. One of the great things about releasing it now is that we can share it with everybody. If you've got the hardware, if you have the HMD to go ahead and run it, the HMD and the PC to run it, you can download it now and check out the great, awesome with all sorts of VR tricks up Nick's sleeve. He had to play into it.
The madness of his blueprinting skills, you mean?
Yes, yeah. There's all kinds of great little VR. Hacks is the wrong word.
I don't pretend I'm a programmer. Let's put it that way.
You don't pretend to be sane. No.
Yeah.
I don't know. We've got to cleaning up blueprint code now. That's the first step towards becoming a full-fledged programmer.
Yeah.
There's comments and things, reroute nodes.
Don't go crazy. It's not that
nice. Oh, goodness. Yeah, with Andrew's new thing where you can actually just have it automatically sort and line things up for you. That'll probably help you out a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's more the fallibility of my logic that's at stake here, rather than
so it's your intelligence,
my cleanliness.
I got it.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah. You should dig in. There's lines of stuff that goes over here that calls this function, that calls back, and then it calls back into itself again, calls back one more time.
So it's like reading. It's like reading a choose your own adventure book.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Granted, that's for our current project, not for the.
Oh,
for
got
Showdown.
it.
Showdown's not that messy.
Yeah, Showdown's in much better shape.
Showdown's been cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best thing about releasing this content, to see what people are going to do with it. I'd love to see some remixes and variations on it and take it much further. We have our own ideas of what we'd love to do and maybe revisit this sometime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see someone put the boy in as all the people and they're chasing down a deer, or I think at the end is the kite fighting back.
Maybe in the forest.
Yeah, it's all forest. Yep, just take the mat.
Can we just scale up the deer and have him come at you at the end?
or the deer all chasing the boy and he's just running for his life.
Everybody that does a remix too flops out the guy that's in the backseat of the car with some other just inappropriately placed person or character from another demo.
Sounds amazing. I love it. So
Yeah, not too many people actually realize it's the Couch Knights guy. That was like terrifying to a lot of people to be stuck in with. So we blew him up.
wait, that's the Couch Knights model.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
Couch Knights freaking
got
dude.
it.
JJ said he would give me a case of beer if I put the Couch Nuts model in the car.
So that's the only reason it made it in.
He never delivered.
Hey Jay, if you're watching the stream, come on.
Yeah, well,
Pay up, son.
yeah, we can find, we have ways. We'll find him. Yeah, so you mentioned that, like, talking back to adding the Couch Nights guy in the car. Like, I know this was put together for Oculus Connect. Just wondering, like, how did the project start out? Like, when you guys approached, like, this, like, we want to make this kind of experience. And we want Showdown to be this, or we probably didn't have a name for it, but we want our VR experience
Yeah.
to become this. I mean,
Didn't
like,
it start out with like, oh God, we have 3 weeks to do something?
Like
Well,
all of our.
is
was
that
a
how
little more.
everything starts out, right?
It was like 6 weeks, I think. But
6 weeks.
I guess
my
we were
bad.
talking with Oculus, and what they kind of come up with is they wanted something big, something that I guess they were trying to debut the Crescent Bay headset. They wanted something, and they knew it looked amazing. The display on there, the latency was so much better. Everything felt and looked better. So they wanted something that really showed that off with the visuals.
Yeah, didn't this also introduce the backtracking as well, right?
Yeah, you could turn 360.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we wanted to have something with spectacle all around you that really
Got
encouraged
it.
people to be active, right?
So the target goal at this point was driven by the hardware, by new hardware, and
Yep.
what we can do with it, how we can take these new these new possibilities and make a really great experience around it. That
Right.
is like, yeah.
Just something with a big spectacle, explosions and all sorts of things. And that's pretty much, we're good at explosions. That's what we do here at
Really?
Epic pretty well.
Big robots and blowing shit up.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to find a piece of my. Do you remember my dry erase board concept art for Showdown? I'm trying to find the picture of it here. An exclusive peek into the design process.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, if you can get that, I can get it up on the screen. So
I'm
just
looking
mail it.
for it right.
Just mail it over to me. I'll make it work. Oh, whatever. We'll get it figured out. So yeah, like 6 weeks, right? Like it's new hardware's coming out. We want something that's really incredible. You guys just dive into the project. You plan it out and figure out what you want to do, or was it just like, what can we do, and then work from there, and then
So
just
yeah, I guess we
assemble the
kind of
team?
came up with a couple of ideas pretty quickly. We knew we had a bunch of assets that we could use from the Infiltrator demo and from the previous demo before that. And I had managed to convince Paul Marder to work with me on this, who is this total badass environment artist.
Yeah.
And so we basically just kind of brainstormed it out for a couple of days and started throwing things at the wall to see if it would stick. And we got the entire environment from the other demo. I don't remember what its name is.
Samaritan.
Samaritan demo.
Okay.
We stuck it in, and we made it daytime so it looked a bit different. And then we just started throwing things at the wall. We got the robot. We actually used the Infiltrator robot before we used the Samaritan robot.
gosh.
And we were just like, we want robots. We definitely want a robot. So we stuck a robot in there and
Yeah.
see what would happen. And then we wanted to get a little bit more movement in because we had the robot kind of flying in and shooting bullets at you. But he just happened to be missing on every single shot, and it didn't really make much sense. So
Gotcha.
we wanted to see what we could get away with as far as movement. And we kind of settled on something, with that linear movement through the scene where you never actually start accelerating, and the deceleration at the end is kind of pretty minimal. It's a short thing.
Right. So yeah, you're not really necessarily a character in this. As more of like you're a spectator
Right.
that's just kind of flowing through and like
Yeah.
having it be
Disembodied being.
Which I think solves a lot of problems in VR in particular, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you don't have to worry about like moving up and down with your head.
Right,
Just
right.
a little bit of translational tracking. You don't
Yeah.
have to do any input or
Yeah.
whatever. It's more of a passive experience, but it's an impressive passive experience. I remember the first time I saw it when you were working on your office.
Mhm.
Dana and I went up there and just took a look at it, and it was the first time I had used the Crescent Bay, right?
Right.
And just wanting to duck over those rocks, like, was the first time in VR I
Mhm.
actually felt like, man, this actually feels really good. Like,
Yeah.
even though I'm just a passerby in this whole experience, I
Right.
don't really have any input into anything that's going on. It just felt really great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like the car, when like grab the guy out of the car,
And then the other aspect to it was that we had this kind of limited set of resources, and we had these soldiers from the Infiltrator demo, and their animations were done on a like shot-by-shot kind of basis for that demo, and the longest of their animations that we could find was like 6 or 7 seconds.
Oh, really?
And we were like, well, hell, how are we gonna kind of clip these together? You know, there's no way. So like, well, if that's 6 seconds, let's extend 6 seconds to 2 minutes in time. And so we just slowed the whole thing down.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that was actually kind of the basis of the slow-mo. It was like, well, this kind of has 2 side effects. A, we can use the animations that we have, and B, it's fucking awesome. So
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it's funny because it's like watching the bullets even come out of guns and stuff. It's something none of that would actually translate well if it was any quicker, right?
Right,
And watching the rocket right here on the video, you can see it
Yeah,
explode on
yeah.
the wall there. Just seeing it come out and happen, you're like, oh, the thing shot it back there, and I saw where it came out. And like every time I watch it again, I catch like some little subtle nuance that I wouldn't have if it wasn't already set up like in that bullet time slow-mo.
we
type
just
loop.
jammed as many of those things as we could in, given the time that we had. We tried to set up. There was always a primary thing to be looking at, and it would have secondary knock-on effects that would lead your eye to the next thing and lead to the eye to
Yeah.
the next thing. And so
So you really treated it as like a cinematic then? Like you took it like, did you do any storyboarding about this, or was it mostly just like we want the
Storyboard.
Yeah,
Here you go.
yeah.
Here's my storyboard.
Yeah.
That's your storyboard?
Yeah, drawn on a whiteboard.
Oh yeah,
Joey.
that's right.
Can we find
One,
the
two,
storyboard?
three.
The very first idea was that there's the robot, there's the infiltrator robot, and it was going to hit into the ground and like make this big hole in the ground. And then from there, you're going to like peer over into the hole, and if you peered over, then it would fly up in front of
Jump
you
out.
and start shooting and stuff. But
So Nick was the artist on this, is what you're saying?
yeah, he
Yeah.
That was
delivered.
my math programmer art skills. So yeah, people say programmer art's not a thing. That's the shit right there.
Shelly, can we save that forever?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
great, perfect.
Let's bring that back. man.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can just run the rest of the stream with that up. We'll just talk over it.
Yeah.
No. So was it just the two? Was it just the two of you? I mean, like you said, you had Paul Motter did some of the art.
Paul Motter and I did the majority of the experience. We managed to recruit. Nick did a whole bunch of the support stuff for making it work on the Vive side. On the awkward on the
Whoa,
Oculus side.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, he helped kind of push the thing out the door.
Well, performance was rocky, right? And this was not only just the Crescent Bay; it was also the advent of the Maxwell.
Yeah, it was the first time we had a
Yeah,
980.
exactly.
Yeah.
We had prototype 980s.
Yeah, and so we
Yeah,
actually had
yeah.
to start with, we didn't have the Crescent Bays, we didn't have the 980s, and so we had to kind of extrapolate a lot of our data points. We had to super sample the scene up, what was it, Nick, up like 179? We figured out an exact number
Yeah.
Mhm.
for the pixel ratio, and then we extrapolated how much over budget we were and how much NVIDIA said the 980 was going to be 40% faster, so we budgeted 30% more.
Yeah.
So we would just have a little bit of a buffer there. And so we managed to hit pretty much right on target, I think.
Yeah.
Those processes are always fun. Like how even running through it now is like, hey, the hardware busted, or the hardware's supposed to be there tomorrow. Where is it? And then a week later, oh no, we're overnighting it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that, I think the guys from Oculus were coming over with these, 3D printed things that smelled like a Home Depot with little plastic shins jammed in
Yeah.
wires sticking out.
Yeah, old Sparky, I
we
would call it,
did a
because it
lot of-
had the exposed LEDs on the outside, and
Oh,
I
no
tend to
way.
just build up a natural static charge, and so I would
Yeah, yeah.
discharge my static onto it every time.
It's
And
because you're electrifying.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for that.
and so like, was there a number, Nick? Did you have to like build any specific new VR features for Showdown? Like, did you have to go through and actually create more like than we actually already had to get some of these new things into it?
It was mostly just kind of general performance
Yeah.
updates and making sure that the tracking was super smooth because we had never run at 70 or at
Wait, didn't the time warping stuff come in at that time too, or is that?
time warping was right after Couch Night, so it had
Okay.
kind of already been
Got it.
implemented by them. But this was the first big kind of demo that showed it off. So there's a lot of kind of back end technical stuff as far as features and stuff. I mean, it was all written in Blueprint, so there was nothing VR centric other than making sure that the new hardware worked with it, that it ran on performance, and kind of buffing up our integration so that Donaldson could iterate faster.
Yeah.
And then just a couple random fixes and tweaks to make sure he wasn't blocked by anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then temporal AA, we were trying to figure out whether to use temporal AA or not because it was expensive, and it was too blurry. And so Timothy Lutz, who was here at the time, made it less blurry and 20% faster as well. So that was a nice little side effect
Yeah,
of that.
some things like it's funny. The reason I ask is because I love how we approach like a problem like this or like a really cool opportunity like this, and it ends up we decide what we want to do, and then it ends up making us go and make parts of the engine so much more performant. We add new features that didn't exist because we've worked through the process of making something really great with it. Like Kite, Kite was a little bit more. There was a whole lot more features went into that one for sure.
A few more resources behind the project.
Yeah, a little bit too. Yeah, so really it was just a few people on Showdown altogether.
And the sound guys did an amazing job as usual. They're used to being basically hit by the bus development where they get dragged at the last second and have to finish something out in a couple of weeks. We had Gavin, who helped us clean up some of the mocap shots from Infiltrator. They weren't quite up to spec, and so he kind of touched every aspect of those. We had a couple of effects people helping us out just a little bit. Other than that, I can't remember if there was too much more.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. And so it was built and shown at Oculus Connect on the New Crescent Bay, and then after that, like get it running on all the other platforms too, right? Like so, DK2. Did that come next?
I mean, kind of worked.
Yeah, kind of naturally after that point.
DK2, Morpheus.
Yeah, and then the Morpheus support was earlier this year. I remember seeing that. And
that was actually surprising. We didn't have to touch it at all, I don't think.
Yeah.
Marcus did a bunch of work to make the integration stuff work. And do you know more about that, Nick?
Yeah, we basically we got the new kits that Sony debuted at GDC, so we revved the SDK to work with those, and then Marcus did some optimization on the shaders. The clear coat was going down an expensive code path, even though we weren't using it in the demo, so he basically chopped that out, and magically it runs without having to do any content changes. So basically we're kind of leveraging the fact that the PS4 is a little bit less powerful, but it only has to run at 1920 by 1080 and 60 hertz.
Yeah, so it's basically you're aiming at these high profile. They require all these resources and stuff, but that scales down pretty well to the Morpheus, right?
Yeah, the Crescent Bay and the Vive, for example, have monstrously high resolutions.
Yeah.
And run at monstrously high frame rates, and so you scale down those two aspects, and all of a sudden, it's actually not that bad.
Yeah, and even to say that too, like the experience of Morpheus is fantastic, right? Like, I mean, going through and experiencing it there is like, you don't lose anything in any of that, right? Like, it's pretty awesome.
They upsample the frame rate, I guess, from 60 to 120, so you still have a pretty decent response when you look around.
Yeah, that's great. And so, with all this like short, dev cycle, trying to take on something new, like. There were some technical challenges I know that you ran into, and some of your little tweaks are some of my favorites, like the shadow blobs. Like
oh right, yeah, yeah. So it turns out, since we have these really, really high, really demanding aspects to it, we couldn't really afford direct lighting at all. We had to use indirect lighting for everything, and so we actually. I mean, if we were going for a smaller scoped project, that wasn't some big street scene with 6 guys and a robot and bullets everywhere, then we could have afforded those things. But you pick your battles and you kind of stick to your guns in that regard. So we were going for big and for lots, and so we had to scale back in some other areas. So we had to basically rely on indirect lighting, and so we kind of set the scene up very deliberately. So the sun is, the direct sun is casting on the buildings, and that's kind of bouncing into the scene. And so we kind of have this generally diffuse reflective scene, and so we just kind of relied on the indirect lighting samples and reflections to kind of make the characters look great.
Yeah,
actually, so one of the features that we did make work for this was that if you click on the robot there, for example,
here,
sure. Yep.
If I can.
Hit T for translucent selection. There you go. And you scroll down to lighting in the panel on the right. There's its indirect lighting type. Down. I don't even know where you are. Yeah, there you go. There's the indirect lighting cache. And so now we default to indirect lighting quality point. So it only takes a single sample of the indirect lighting and applies that to your dynamic object. You also have other options of volume, which it generates a little 3x3 9-sample volume texture for the object, and so that's got a little bit more information in it. So you do something for big things, but that's kind of it's expensive to generate that in real time.
Got
So
it.
whenever they move outside of that volume, it has to regenerate it on the render thread. And then, so for moving objects, that's ridiculously expensive. And we also couldn't turn it off for anything. So the bullets were, and, and there were dozens of them flying through the scene.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
generating these little volume textures every single frame.
Yeah,
Every single
yeah.
one of them was generating these. And so Daniel exposed, he was like, oh, yeah, that's going to be a problem in a real game. So he made this point one, which is way, 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 way faster. And there's also an option for none. So you can just have bullets that are, for example, unlit. And then you
Got
don't
it.
pay any cost for that at all. So that saved us a lot of time on the render thread.
Oh, right on. So yeah, and then I wanted to see if I could get
If you hit the matinee button.
play.
No. The matinee button at the top.
Yeah.
The little snap. And then you go slow-mo rail matinee down the bottom.
This guy.
Yep. We'll put that on the other screen so we can just scrub through it. Yeah.
Hooray! Window control.
Don't do that.
Really? Come on
Just
now.
don't grab the tab, yeah. You'll be fine.
All right.
It's alright, replacing matinee anyway, right?
So, yeah. I'll let you try that.
Cool. So here's what it looks like in the editor. You can see all of these lines everywhere. Dana, our marketing lady, was asking me for some in-engine
Yeah.
promo pics. And I sent her one of these. She's like, can you make it look less editor-ish?
Yeah. We got 3 of them over, and it's like, wow, this looks
You
like.
really can't see anything.
yeah.
That's great. So these are all the movement tracks for things moving through the scene. So you can see here all of the different things that scrub through here. And so we have a whole bunch of hacks to make all this stuff work properly. For example, these little shadows on the character's feet.
This is my favorite thing in this demo right here.
This is our... Oops. Let me press the little magic button that stops it from doing the thing I don't want it to do. So these are what I dubbed dynamic blob shadows. And so you can see if we select this guy. There you go. You can see the outline of those little blob meshes. They're actually just kind of meshes attached to that skeletal mesh character. And as it measures the distance of the foot bone between the ground and they're all in the vertex shader, and actually just kind of scales the mesh down and kind of fades out the shadow a little bit. And it just works amazingly well. It's dirt cheap. Shader complexity.
Dirt cheap as in it doesn't even register here.
I would guess that's probably broken. Unreal.
It's not free.
Yeah, awkward. Either way, yeah, they worked out really, really well for us. The other thing we did was this car is actually dynamic. It pulls into the shot early on, and we need to. He's skidding in. Come on, dude. He's chucking a sweet ass skiddy. I don't even know what that means.
What the hell was that?
I am Australian.
Sweet-ass skiddy.
Australian.
I'm Australian.
Making up words.
That's actually something I would say as a 7-year-old. So we needed this blob shadow approach as well, but these blob shadows are actually just cards, and you can kind of clip through your camera. And I tried something like that for the car, but in VR you can actually just tell that it's kind of sitting over the top. And so what I did instead was basically a faked, kind of did my own deferred decal type thing where you can kind of see this little cage mesh around the edges here, and if you pop inside of it, it just disappears. So that shadow is all kind of faked in this. It uses scene depth, and then you can get the world position behind the translucency, and then kind of project a texture onto it in world space.
And these are all for you to buy back GPU, right?
Sure, yeah. I mean, we've actually started using... I did some kind of dynamic blob shadows like this, somewhere a hybrid between this and this approach for the characters in Unreal Tournament.
Oh yeah.
For the so it's even for quality rather than just performance. And so
But it's a nice plus, right?
yeah, nice little plus. And then these rockets here, we did some pretty cool. Paul Marder came up with this little approach, where this is just like a big spline mesh. I guess you can even probably move.
So you're not
these.
using particles for that.
No, that guy's not a particle at all. is you can stretch the spline mesh, and then we kind of scrub in the matinee. It's just a very it's a very tessellated sausage mesh, and then we scrub along, and do a whole bunch of different things in the shader to
Have it change over.
do a world position offset based on a noise texture, and then we push through, and so there's a couple of different layers in there, and so you can see it's got a fair bit of depth to it. So we put a bit of work with a couple of bump offset layers to make sure that it didn't look like it was just like a rock solid tube sausage thing, which it did, which was with the first pass that we did.
Yeah, I remember it. We went through many iterations until we found something that looked decent, right?
Yeah.
It's just like a growing fun noodle.
Yeah.
Those pool noodle things.
A fun noodle?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what the original brand was
Whatever you do
called.
in your spare time,
Fun noodle.
Chance, that's fine.
Ah.
We used a very similar technique for the explosion at the end here. If you move this guy through the scene, it actually... Oh, it's all localized. That's fine. Either way, we used kind of just a really tessellated sphere, and then inside of this, I think Alan actually did a step-by-step tutorial on how to do something like this.
Vertex offset? On the
Yeah,
screen?
he actually rebuilt this material on a stream
Oh, gotcha.
without ever referencing us whatsoever. So I feel a little bit ripped
Oh,
off. I've got
man,
words to
yeah.
have with Alan. But
We'll have to go in there and put like annotations to the video.
yeah,
Note you can see this live in action
Yeah,
by the
exactly.
real creators.
credits to Nick
Yeah.
Donaldson and Paul Marder. So,
That is awesome.
so other than that, nothing too crazy. We kind of spend a lot of time talking to Nick Penwarden and other graphics programmers to figure out how to, debug all of this stuff and get the performance to where we need it.
Yeah, and Nick Whiting, it's funny, I've talked with you quite a bit about just performance goals for VR in particular, right? And like how in working in video games, it's always like you optimize later.
Mhm.
You build your game and then what do you want it to
Yeah,
be and then
yeah.
optimize later. With VR, you kind of have to approach it. Those things have to be in parallel and lockstep, right? Like, are there any like great takeaways from this, like from a performance standpoint, that you realize like, hey, this really sucks or this really is good, that either of y'all have found?
Well, we definitely.
One of the things I want to point out, because we always get this question, is people download the engine, they put it in VR, and they hit the play in VR button, and
Right.
it doesn't run at frame rate. And they're like, why doesn't it run at frame rate? The scene is super simple, but they completely forget about the cost of post-processing on there.
Yeah.
By default, we turn all the pretties on so that everything looks awesome as soon as you download it, and that's really the opposite of what you want for VR. So if you're starting a VR project, when you create a new project, instead of doing the maximum quality button, be sure to put it on scalable, and then that kind of lets you start from nothing and then turn on the stuff you want,
Mhm.
rather than start with everything and turn off the stuff you don't want. It's much, much easier to get started that way.
Got
Yeah,
it.
I think it's much better if you're starting a new project. Like, get the frame rate first, make that your first goal, and then stay there. And layer in the pretty as you move forward versus
Granted.
trying to do it at the end.
Granted, that's a little hypocritical of us to say that.
I know.
Because
if you were starting from scratch on
Yeah.
a new project,
yeah,
Unless
it's
you're
starting
Nick
from scratch.
Donaldson.
Yeah, unless you're me,
there's no helping you, Nick. Sorry.
do what we
Yeah.
say, not what we do.
Yeah, he's evil Nick, right? That
Yeah.
was the
Apparently,
thing.
that's
Yeah,
the-
okay,
yeah.
great. Yeah.
As
That's
far as I can
fine.
tell, you're both evil, Nick.
Don't
Well, he's from Australia, and that's where Britain sent its evil people. So,
and he has a beard, right?
and he is
Yeah, we found like what 5 reasons, like I think
Sure.
last time we were all
Yeah.
together as
Mhm.
to why you're even now we have another one because he doesn't do what Nick Whiting says about performance.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he follows the worst practices.
Yeah.
That's what he's trying to say.
Yes, he invents new ones on a regular basis.
Yeah. Like wait, stop what you're doing here.
So when it comes,
that's great because it drives our engineering efforts, right? We have to save milliseconds to undo all the stuff.
exactly, exactly.
Save milliseconds. It's so funny that that's like a huge deal in VR. It's like, I gotta get this down 2 more milliseconds.
Yeah, we save what Ryan just checked in something that saves 1.5 milliseconds. That's,
Two total.
Yeah, that's
1.25 on the draw thread and then 0.75 on the GPU.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember you've got 11 milliseconds for your entire frame, so every little bit counts.
Yeah.
So when it
Man.
comes to optimizing and stuff like that, we're actually still kind of in the infancy of even rendering techniques for VR. So Ryan Vance just checked in a static mesh instancing. So basically, previously we had to submit all the draw calls for left eye and right eye, so we just
Right.
doubled everything. And so I think we'd even mentioned this in a previous stream at some point, but he just checked in the instancing, so it actually just sends the draw calls once.
Across
And
both.
this is what they were talking about. It saved, I think, a millisecond and a half on render thread and a millisecond on GPU.
Yeah.
So it's massive wins.
It's not just static, actually. You checked in dynamic, so it works with skeletal meshes and GPU particles. And
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, so across the board improvements on that, yeah.
And that's checked into a branch right now until we stabilize, I should be
Right.
clear. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't just grab it out of main right now, but it's coming soon.
Yeah, cool.
And then he also did a
and we
stencil
have
thing, so we only pay for 15% less post-process, and then early reject stuff that that Valve have talked about in the past as well. So
Now, are all these specific to VR, or are they just more engine related improvements?
Those are specific to stereoscopic
Got it.
render.
Got
Yeah.
it. So
It's a more efficient way to render two things that are slightly offset.
right.
Yep. Yeah. Totally cool. Yeah, and it's I'm sure a lot of our VR quick start guide and best practices came from your experience in building this, right? Like, and just toying around with a lot of that. Any other main takeaways?
We should point them at the Oculus Connect talk that we did and the slides that are on unrealengine.com/resources.
Yeah.
Learnings from integrating
I can pull that
Oculus
up real quick.
to UE4.
Nick Whiting,
Because-
my favorite shill.
Favorite
Yeah,
shill.
Yeah.
that PowerPoint deck has saved us hours and hours of support time explaining, because basically it
Yes.
goes over a bunch of the cool kind of design-centric lessons, kind of an overview of how the rendering platform works, and it does how we optimize Showdown to get to 90 frames a second.
Mhm.
So if you head over to our, oh sorry, go ahead, Nick.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say, if you head over to our website, go to the most inconspicuous place possible, the bottom of the page, and find resources, and then in here the talk should be listed across here.
Yeah.
It's-
No, that's the wrong one.
Oh,
Don't be confused by the other VR thing up there.
Hey, maybe somebody should fix that, Chance.
yeah.
There we go. Left side, top left.
Dun,
Oh, this needs
dun.
VR.
Wow, that's it.
There's just so many new talks that have been put up here since the one last.
It's such a wealth of information.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, this is actually a really
Face
great
the
deck.
fire hose.
We've actually passed this out to other people that want to kind of go do talks on VR, or at least understand some of the things that you guys learned while you were out there at
And
Oculus
if you
Connect.
in YouTube, if you look up UE4 Oculus Connect, it'll have the actual presentation that Donaldson and I did.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
think we have it on our blog as well.
So you can follow along at home.
Who's
Hey,
that sexy person?
Yeah, if you the one on the left.
Yeah.
Oh wait, stage left or? Yeah, and this picture's actually on
Look
our.
at that smile.
This is on the
I was
community
going to
tab
say
right now.
shitting and grin is probably a more apt description.
You survived. Yes.
Hooray! All right. So yeah, well, so Showdown's now out for everybody. Here we've wanted to kind of release it for quite some time now. Ray, I know you can talk a little bit about more of the motivation there, but really a lot of it's just to get this really great content into people's hands,
Well,
to share it with more of the world, right?
Yeah, I wanted to get it out there so that hopefully somebody can fix the AI and that robot can actually, land some of those shots.
Yeah.
He's not really this good at his job here.
He takes
but-
out a few of them.
Takes out one of
Yeah,
them.
yes.
He's kind of the stormtrooper of robots.
Conveniently, always, yeah.
Set phasers
Actually, it'd be
system.
awesome. I'm gonna do this myself. Like, why don't we do the VR experience in reverse where you get to be the robot and just blow up everything? That should be pretty
That's
fun.
actually not a bad idea.
Nick, didn't you showed me one of your early VR prototypes, right? Where you were in the giant mech thing and sort of a similar street thing, right?
Oh yeah, it was a bit of a vomitron, that one.
Yeah, that was fun.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's like, check out this awesome new VR thing. Blech.
See, my favorite thing about Nick is that he's like living with a HNB on, and like he gets simulation sickness more
All
than
the time,
anybody I've
yeah.
ever met. So I guess he's a good test case, right? For hey, will this make people sick? Nick will be
Just
like,
put it on your face.
Yeah.
The other weird thing about Nick is every time he starts a prototype, it ends up being in a street. I don't know. What's that about?
It's because he was from the streets.
Yeah, he's from the streets of Australia, man. He's the thug life.
Yeah.
That's how he got evil.
Kangaroo gangs, street boxing.
Kangaroos versus the dingoes.
That's right.
Wow.
When I first moved to
Want
the
to go eat
US,
some babies?
when I first moved to the US and people told me I had to wear shoes to the grocery store, it was a shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised he can stand straight up and not upside down,
Mm,
like whenever
yeah.
he walks in the
It's a learned
office.
skill.
Yeah, it's a little different. All right, a couple more things here I wanted to call out that there are going to be a few improvements coming to the actual release of Showdown over the next hopefully a few days. So look out for an updated version of it there that was going to tweak a few things for you. And not only that, that's for a number of things, right? Just a couple small cleanup things. some performance improvements, and then extended hardware support. We're also looking to release the pre-compiled executable, so you can go ahead and grab that and run it. You don't have to pull down the whole engine for those that are just more VR enthusiasts that want to they're interested in Unreal Engine. They don't necessarily want to hop in and run through all the compiling things to figure out a package. So we're going to share it all with the world. So look out for an update there soon. And also I know that a number of us are going to be at Oculus Connect. So I know that those two guys are going to be there. This guy's going to be there, and this guy's going to be there. So I guess all of us are going to go.
There you go.
Yeah, that'll be good.
We could do a road show.
What's that?
We could do a road show.
Live from LA.
Yeah, I am going to do that, actually. So yeah, Twitch will be from Oculus Connect that week, since it does roll over Tuesday.
Fun.
So yeah, 11 a.m.
You can pull out your
California time.
iPhone and
Yeah, I don't know. We might just
FaceTime in.
just Periscope it. Yeah, we did it at E3 and it worked out pretty well.
There you
We
go.
did some interviews out there too. So
Do you guys, since we're all gonna be at Oculus Connect, do you guys think we should put a new demo together or something?
Oh, we should think about
I
that.
don't know.
Nick, you got some time?
Yeah,
You
a
ready?
couple weeks.
we got like
Prob-
3
prob-
weeks. Yeah, there you go. Let's do that.
Yeah,
We should get back to our roots.
Nick, get
Yeah.
to the drawing board.
Yeah, we should bring that robot concept back. See what happens with that.
Maybe the robot will win this time.
Maybe.
Nice. That's
Let's go back to the streets of VR, guys.
yeah. No, I don't know exactly 100% of our involvement. I know there's going to be a lot more news coming out about that, pretty soon. So
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, interesting. Meh.
Yeah.
So if you're at Oculus Connect, come find us, say hi. We'd love to get to chat with all of you. We got about 10-15 minutes left. We're going to dive into some questions, unless you guys have any other closing thoughts about Showdown itself.
Enjoy.
No? Yeah,
Yeah.
Let's answer questions.
absolutely. Nick Whiting, you've got the list, don't you?
Yeah,
If
we-
Ray scrolls down, yes, I do. Let's see. Let's go down the list.
OSVR support.
OSVR support. There's OSVR is working on some plugin stuff that they've shared a little bit. And there's a community version of it. So we've been working with them on some of the other devices that they're starting to make support in some of the specs that they're proposing with OSVR. So it's kind of an iterative process with that one. Improvements will come with that. When making open world games for VR, what are the considerations that must be taken into account? Performance, LOD, and lighting sound like the top three. I mean, it's hard enough to make a very constrained world performance with VR, so you've got to be very careful. One of the things too is with streaming, right? You're paying a lot of CPU time.
Yeah.
And like you said, you've only got 11 milliseconds of frame, so loading assets and anything that has to touch the hard drive is something you got to be very, very cognizant of, and be sure to chunk it out in a way that you don't have to stream too much.
Yeah, and even with streaming, is there a way you think possibly to do like some sort of like a wait please that is happening that doesn't show much, that doesn't really like let you move much, or like dark screen? There's probably some hacks that we could actually do.
Well, you could do. You could do like the infinite elevator or something, right?
Yeah,
Where you're trapped
yeah,
in some sort of cycle.
You
Yeah,
just got to be careful of hitching. That's the big thing with that, is not necessarily the constant performance, but if you're hitting the hard drive and it has to wait, then you get a hitch, and then people tend to barf, because when you're moving in VR and it suddenly stops, it is really disorienting.
yeah. I'm just thinking like changing chapters, like a fade to black,
Yeah.
where there's not, you don't really notice any hitching because it's all the same, really, right? So
Yeah, we've had some partners basically adapted the movie player, the loading screen movie player, to just take the HMD orientation, so they can basically present a really simple logo or screen or something like that that's
Yeah.
running on its own thread, so the game can churn in the background and you can still keep tracking and have something to look at. That's probably the best bet for something like that.
gotcha.
Yeah, an actual spatialized loading screen. That's kind of cool.
Because as long as you have something that gives you reference to your head motion, you should be all right. But as soon as you start hitching, it gets scary. Will Google Cardboard ever get any UE4 love? Yes, there are plans in motion right now, but I can't talk about them specifically. But yes, love is coming.
Everyone loves love, Nick.
Nick, love you long time.
Love. So target the official Oculus Rift recommended PC specification as a 970. Yeah, I mean, it all depends on your content. Some of the stuff, like the Weta demo that we did at GDC,
That's a Titan bound.
yeah, you have to have a Titan X to run that one, just because we're pushing a lot of geometry. But I haven't personally run Showdown on a GTX 970, but theoretically it's possible. We targeted a 980 originally, but we didn't have the queue ahead that we have now with the Oculus SDK, so it has a lot.
Just work, right?
Yeah, it should just work out of the box. But
And
I
then
haven't
the
verified.
instancing should help a lot. So
Yeah, maybe you can get below a 970.
Yeah,
Like,
with the instancing, it should be no problem at all.
cool.
Famous last words.
Is it compatible with DX12?
I
Yes.
haven't tried it.
Yeah.
But
As long as there's no driver inconsistencies, right? But,
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know if the Oculus Direct Mode drivers work with
Do they
DirectX 12.
work with DX11?
They do work with DX11, but you know,
Okay.
who knows? We haven't tried it. You might try it.
Somebody let us know, please.
Yeah, it's all out there. You've got it.
Do you want to take that one?
491. I don't know. Do we? I haven't seen the hit list. How are
No.
we doing on stability chance?
Yeah, so 491 is something that is being discussed at this point. We don't really necessarily have a target date for it, as far as I know. But probably next week we can talk more a little bit about that. But yeah, we do plan to have one. I just don't really have much of a timeline of when we might see it at this point.
Yeah, I know a lot of our discussions are leaning much more to let's focus on like across the board stability paths, right? Stability, performance optimization, and some of the minor workflow niggles versus like doing some more heavy lifting on features.
Totally.
The one heavy hit feature that is coming is 070 for Oculus, supporting that. The reason we didn't ship it with 490 is we're having QA do a more thorough pass on it. We had some issues with the runtime, and we didn't want to release it and have everybody have unstable runtime issues. So we're working with Oculus Engineering to get those padded out, and when we're confident, we'll rep the SDK.
Hopefully, as those guys lock down their SDK, we can get to an actual final shipping version, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that's the exception is VR. There's still going to be a lot of cool new stuff coming.
Yeah.
I think alongside our other release plans. So.
And
Yeah,
061
definitely.
for mobile as well, which has performance improvements.
Yeah.
That helped the if you saw CCP's Gunjack shipping on Gear VR,
really?
061 helped out their performance quite a bit. So we're going to include that in the rev to 070 on the PC.
Yep.
That's great. Yeah, and that's another thing too. 491. We try to get a whole lot of those. Ray said mentioned stability. There's a lot of bugs that we tried to get knocked out and really tighten everything up for 490, which is one of the reasons it took an extra week for us to get it out to everybody. So that's definitely something that we're focusing on moving forward, and so it's going to basically be a list of those kind of things as far as I understand. Cool.
We talked about the VR improvements. Are there more?
Yeah, we did talk about the improvements. The big things, like I said, is instanced stereo rendering, so that we don't do the expensive dual draw calls. That should let you basically double your draw call count, or just use that perf overhead for gameplay or whatever other features you want to
That's
have.
huge.
It makes it faster. So yeah, exactly. So take those milliseconds and do what you want with them. That will probably hit
Take
me
those
410.
milliseconds and do what you want with them.
Like I said, it's all functionally proved out. We just want to make sure that all the rendering paths are compatible with it, because it touches almost every shader we have in the game. So there's a lot of area to cover with testing.
Yeah.
Then there's the post-process. Instead of rendering to a quad full screen, we do it to like a cutout around the eyes.
There's two bits to that. If you guys have read Valve's proposal of the hidden area mesh, where they were getting about 14% pixel fill, we basically make a mesh that excludes the black area that gets lost during the distortion, so we don't render that. So we did that, and then we also took the inverse of that mesh, so basically a visible area mesh that looks like two circles, and then we only run post-process on those, which improves our fill time. And since we use a deferred renderer in general, that actually was the bigger help to us, was cutting the post-process rather than culling the other stuff that you couldn't see.
Our base pass isn't particularly big, so it wasn't a massive saving there.
Yeah, so the combination of those two techniques will also get in there. Can't remember what he was saying on Showdown. I think it was about, between the two of them, 20% fill time improvement.
Sweet.
That's fill time, not total frame rate.
Cool.
When making movies for VR using Unreal Engine, do you guys have any tips to retain a solid frame rate?
All of the above.
Yeah, everything.
Learn how to use profiling tools. Right?
Yeah, Control Shift comma, bring up the GPU profiler, and that will be your bestest friend in the whole wide world. Love the GPU profiler. Feed it well.
Feed it well.
Yeah. Make it work for its friend. Can you use the editor with VR gestures? No.
That'd be a fun project for somebody.
Yeah, feel free to tack it on. What about VR rendering improvements? Late latching. Late latching is in progress. We've got a drop of it from Oculus, which we're going to be integrating into main very soon. Stencil rejection is what I just talked about.
Do you want to unpack late latching for people who may not know what that is?
Late latching basically is It helps with the buffering. So I need a whiteboard to unpack that. If you look up late latching and on the Oculus block, there's a really good diagram that has basically shows what it is. But basically, you hook the constants for your constant buffer that tell you where to render things as late as possible. So by the time the GPU is ready to render it, you can pull the latest information of the orientation from the headset. So it helps with the latency and then lets you do a little bit more buffering. So I would recommend reading the article because the pictures really do a lot to help explain that.
Cool.
Maybe we'll have you on some time to draw it on the board.
Yes,
for us, so we
I'll
can
come back on with a whiteboard. There
Great.
we go.
Yeah.
You see the skills. Now we'll do it live. In case you didn't believe it was me.
Nice.
Okay.
Let's see.
Slow-mo.
When the explosions look mostly mesh-based, does that mean sprites still look bad in VR? Yes, billboarded things look bad. Although, there are exceptions to the rule. We had a pretty big debate recently on whether sprite particles, if they're screen aligned, so as you move your head, if they stay aligned towards your view position. We actually use those in the glass breaking
On the card flip
thing, and you don't notice it until you turn it off, and then they all look like billboards. So you can use them judiciously in a case by case if you have like a lot of particles and you need some filler.
Yeah, and interspersing them with other mesh-based particles, right?
If you keep them small and you keep them moderately distant, it's hard to tell. But yeah.
So as with all things, there's a time and a place. But in general, yeah, you can't get away with the same like fireball explosions with sprite particles.
Right.
Are you using the slow-mo track, Donaldson, or did you just tweak everything by hand?
It's a slow-mo track.
Slow-mo
So
track.
the thing actually pretty much plays out in about 6 seconds if you don't.
And we're done.
We
Yeah,
should.
it's actually-
Seems like a poor choice in hindsight, but
I would love
you
to
know.
watch it in 6-second mode.
yeah. I wonder if we could do that. Do you have it open?
Yeah, we
I'm gonna
do, we
futz with
do.
it while you guys just.
Wait.
Well,
Alright, so what
I'm
are
not
you
sure it'll
doing?
work.
Is slow motion a style choice, or did it struggle to hit 60 frames a second on VR? Well, first of all, it's hitting 90 frames a second in VR, but slow mo doesn't actually help that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slow mo, you can run it at the same performance rate if it's running at full speed or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, slow mo doesn't actually affect that very much.
We did a slow-moving camera more for the motion sickness, right?
Yeah. And to stretch out that 6 seconds of content.
Yeah,
too.
the animation was really the biggest thing. And you
Yeah.
know,
So-
slow motion is just really, really cool. So there.
Let's see.
How does time warp work? Okay, and again, another thing that is really helpful if you go and look at the pretty pictures online, and also the Oculus Connect presentation has a video of this working. But if what time warp does is basically it takes, after we go through and render the image on the screen, if you imagine you have two planes in front of your eyes like this, right? We want to move those planes left and right based on the difference of where your head was when we started rendering to where your
The
head is
delta.
now at finished rendering. So if you imagine you're moving your head maybe a fraction of a degree in the few milliseconds it takes for the GPU to do that work, what we do is we shuffle the image left and right basically, and up and down to match the new orientation of your head. So you change the angle, but you don't actually correct the position at the moment, and that was awesome.
All right, let's do it.
Here's Showdown at full speed.
And you
Look, hey, we can make a vine of this. Let's do
Yeah,
that.
totally.
All right,
I mean,
great.
6 seconds, it's perfect, right?
Amazing.
It actually kind of holds up.
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
All right.
Do we have time for more questions?
We're good if you guys are good. You got a couple more minutes?
Sure.
If you guys got it, we can take like 5 more.
5 more. Okay, easy ones.
How did you make the effect behind the bullets, the wave effect?
The distortion.
Distortion.
Yes. Done. No, let me.
Distortion.
You click
Nailed
the
it.
make distortion button, right?
Yep. BP bullet.
Or you bring up the material or something?
No, I'll just show the effect working. This is a mesh attached to the bullet here. It just uses a Fresnel. Well, you can actually just look at the asset in the editor. But it uses a mesh and then like a world space, you know,
Yeah,
world
yeah.
position along this axis, and so it does this kind of like little wobbly effect when you do that. So it's pretty much that simple. It's refraction. It's the correct Unreal Engine term, and it actually works surprisingly well in VR. You wouldn't think it would because it's a screen space thing, but it kind of just does.
All right.
Next
Gotcha.
question.
Yeah.
Come on,
Let's see.
Chance. Pick up your game, son.
Well, I was letting Nick take them, but that's fine.
Okay.
The stone bits, are they all just separate mesh assets, or are they destructive?
They're fitty. It's kind of half
Half and half.
sprites, half meshes.
Got it.
It's all fake, yeah.
All fake. Well, it's video games.
Is there a
so-
quick way to VR preview Showdown in a way that allows free movement and not constrained by the matinee animation?
You just have to turn auto start off on the matinee, right?
Or hook up your Vive and walk around the room.
Yeah, if you open up the blueprints, you could open up the level blueprint and probably just like futz around in there a little bit and
Are you triggering it, or is there just autoplay?
start demo. No.
There you go. Don't hit spacebar.
Begin play. Break that. I wonder what happens then.
You'll just be stuck in the initial level in
Oh,
black.
there you
yeah,
go.
looking-
Yeah. So there's
Good
this
job,
little.
man.
Could you just disable the camera track on the matinee, and
Oh.
then that would let you run the pawn
Oh,
around?
this has changed a
There you
little since I finished making it. Yeah, it'll work. We'll figure it out.
All right. Let's see. Any plans for NVIDIA VR GameWorks?
Yeah, so NVIDIA VR GameWorks, there's kind of 5 features they announced with that. 3 of those are kind of in the court of Oculus and Steam and those guys to implement on their side because they work with the back-end stuff that we don't touch. So when Oculus and Steam support those, we'll support them, obviously out of the box because we don't have to touch it. The other 2 bits of that are the multi-GPU rendering and the multi-resolution rendering. We're working with NVIDIA right now on multi-resolution rendering implementation for UE4, so hopefully we'll have more news on that soon. We're fixing up post-processing effects and making sure it works with the nice new instance stereo mesh rendering stuff that we have in there. Multi-GPU rendering. That's going to be after the instancing stereo mesh stuff. We got a drop with their MGPU stuff and are going to work on integrating it then.
Cool.
So that one's probably still 2 or 3 months off.
This
That
is a
would be
high end.
awesome.
It's kind of a high end feature, so it's.
Yeah, it's a super high-end feature. We had a implementation for the Weta demo, and that gave us about 36% improvements, but there was a bug that caused us to have to force sync between the 2 cards because the depth buffer information that we used for the particle collisions
getting
was
out of sync.
getting out of sync, so the coins would start in the same location, and they would split
Yeah.
into 2 coins, and your head would explode.
Yeah, we found a new way to make people tell on VR. It's awesome.
Yeah, so
It gives you a nice splitting headache.
yeah, exactly. So we found a resolution for that, but we still need to hook it up and clean up things and get it ready for mass release.
Cool.
Cool.
Just the last one too. This one might have to do with the actual way you're handling lighting.
I actually think I know what.
But
that is.
why does reflections and detail lighting view modes just show lit environment?
Yep. So there is a setting somewhere in the INIs which you could probably fix for the update that we're doing,
Got it.
which is like compile developer shaders or something like that. And I think we're nuking all of that stuff in there. I think it might also be why there's this like nasty black flickering stuff all over. the level.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. So we'll take a look at that at the update. Should
Yeah.
be a bug. All right. And that is about what we got for questions. So, any final thoughts from anybody else?
no.
Nope. All good. You're done. Ready to get back to it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us, Nick, Ray. Really appreciate
Bye.
y'all dialing in from Seattle. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us in the chat and asking your questions. And we hope you can go download Showdown now and tear it apart, make something great with it. We really want to see your hacks.
Dubstep remix, drop the bass.
Yeah, make it
Womp,
work.
womp, womp.